you guys, it's Shelby Huffine, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the 1640s and what all was kind of going down in that decade. It's really kind of crazy. There's a civil war in England, there's a lot of friction between Parliament and the King, there's a lot of friction inside of Parliament, and there's just a lot going on. And I'm going to talk about Parliament's relationship with the King, why there was so much friction, why was there so much conflict. And I'm also going to talk about the Civil War and who was to blame about the Civil War. Was it the King's fault that we went into a war, or was it Parliament's fault that they went into a war? And then, of course, I got to talk about how religion plays a role in these situations. So, but to begin, before I start with Charles's relationship with Parliament, I'm going to talk about his dad, King James I, his relationship with Parliament back in 1603. Because I feel like that kind of paved the way for King Charles's relationship with Parliament, because King James had a really rough relationship with Parliament. So in 1603, James comes in. He's Queen Mary of Scots' son, and so people really aren't liking that because he is not from England and he's ruling over the English throne. So Parliament and the people both don't like that. Another reason why Parliament had a rough relationship with King James is because there was actually a lot of rumors that King James actually had a homosexual affair with his chief minister, Buckingham. And so, of course, at the time, that was crazy to even speak about. And so, there was that, and, that kind of stamped a huge illegitimacy label all over the throne. And another reason why Parliament didn't like James is because he tried making peace with Spain. And the reason why that was an issue is because, we know England had just kind of gained their independence from the Roman Catholic Church, and Spain is densely Roman Catholic. And so whenever King James was trying to make peace with them, a lot of the people were really kind of concerned because, he's trying to make an alliance with a country that's still very densely Roman Catholic, and they don't want any of that back into their country, and they just kind of want to move on from that. And they were afraid that King James making peace was kind of backstepping into Roman Catholicism once again. So there's a few reasons why. There's other reasons because, like I said, there was a lot of rumors and a lot of corruption surrounding James' throne. But with trying to make peace with Spain, the people didn't like that, and Parliament did their best to make that not happen. And kind of as James' last hurrah, he right before he dies, he tries to get his son, King Charles I, to marry the Spanish Infanta. But of course he passes away, and that is not completed. And then once that happens, of course, Parliament steps in and completely rips to shreds any chance or any hope of having peace with Spain. And of course, that just kind of sets a bad start for King Charles's rule. So this is where King Charles and Parliament start having issues. So, as I just said, Parliament kind of tears apart peace between Spain and England. So, of course, Spain isn't the happiest right now. And so King Charles goes to Parliament and he says, well, hey, since we can't have peace with Spain, is there any way you can give me some money so I can build up an army? And they basically just told him no, because they didn't trust him, and they didn't trust his chief minister, Buckingham, because Buckingham is still chief minister after James passed away. So, and because of the rumors that he was homosexual with King James, of course, they don't trust him, and they don't trust King Charles. So they're like, we don't trust you with the money, so we're not going to give you any money. So, horribly handling this situation, Charles goes out and he starts illegally taxing the people. And of course this causes a major uproar, because who wants to be taxed illegally? It's not fair on the people. And so King Charles starts implementing all these taxes and tariffs, and it's really rough start to his reign. And so Parliament, when they meet next, they are infuriated. And of course they are, because the king is making illegal taxes without consulting them first. They need, because, the kings need to consult Parliament before they make any taxes, any laws, anything like that. And he went completely over their head with this and just started doing it. So, of course, they were mad, and so they started making a lot of laws about limiting the king's power and how the king has to go to Parliament if he wants to make any taxes or any laws or anything like that. Excuse me. And so, and this just kind of makes Charles mad. And so really what's going on is they're playing this little game with each other. They're just making each other mad at this point. And so after all these laws are implemented, King Charles can't do a whole lot. So for a while, he's a little quiet. He doesn't really, he doesn't start any drama anymore, for a while at least. And, he's just kind of quiet. But now that this is happening, Parliament starts, kind of, I don't want to say power hungry, but they kind of are getting power hungry, because we have two sides of Parliament, and one are they're both Puritan, but one is more of like an independent kind of Puritan, and they're like, this country should be able to, everybody should be able to practice whatever they want to practice, and all of that. And then this other side is more like, no, they have to be pure Puritan or Presbyterian. And so, at this point, Parliament starts really conflicting with each other and stuff like that. And so, of course, there's this division in Parliament now. And so now King Charles sees this. He sees this division, and he thinks, okay, this is how I'm going to get my power back. So the next time Parliament met, we go in and we see that King Charles is kind of already building up his little army. And so next time Parliament meets, King Charles tries to invade Parliament with his soldiers, and he tries to take over, just like straight up, like just try to take over completely. But Parliament actually was able to get out because they were told about King Charles' plan to do this. And so at this point, King Charles is kind of defeated, so he kind of goes out and he disappears for a while to build his own army. And at this point, the people that are on Parliament side, so mainly the Puritans and some of the townspeople and even noblemen and stuff like that were even on Parliament side, they gave them permission to go ahead and start making their own army, like a militia ordinance. So they came in and they're like, okay, you can make your own army. So Parliament starts making their own army. And so at this point, they start a civil war that basically lasts for 4 years. And all this just kind of ties into their relationship and how rocky it was. They just made each other mad all the time. And of course, we kind of have to look at it and be like, well, whose fault is it? And, the way I see it is I see it kind of as a 50-50, like it was both of their faults. Because to start off with, Parliament wouldn't give Charles the money to fight Spain, which is kind of like they did that because King James wanted peace with Spain. And, King Charles came in at a time where Parliament was ruining that. Parliament did not want peace. But as soon as Charles was like, okay, well then let me build an army, Parliament was like, no, we don't trust you with the money. We don't trust you and your chief minister. So, of course, this is this is all kind of going crazy. And so, excuse me, there's just a lot of, back and forth. And then but we also see King Charles come in, and he handles this situation terribly. So we can either blame Parliament for, kind of starting this with kind of poking the bear, waking it up and not dealing with it, not trying to run from it. And, King Charles handling it terribly and going over Parliament's head instead of communicating with them and all of that. And of course, we see religion kind of pop up in this because, the whole reason why this kind of started is because the people didn't like how King James was making peace with Spain, a densely Roman Catholic country. So, people mainly, and the whole reason why they didn't want to make peace with Spain is because they were still Roman Catholic. And, that's just kind of like, okay, well, maybe it's the difference in religion's fault. But there's all kinds of stuff that's going on, and I found it super interesting, and I'm really glad I got to share this kind of stuff with you. But to kind of wrap up, I'm also going to say that, you know, in all of this, it was really interesting learning about all this, and I know we talked about it in class, but it was also really interesting to learn and dive deeper into it and get the actual little details that we may have missed in class. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this bit of information as much as I enjoyed learning it. It was a really cool concept, and it was really cool to see how, because, you know, in class we talked about, like, it was kind of King Charles's fault, but, you know, in this I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of everyone's fault. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope that you look more into it, because it's actually really, really interesting. But I hope you're all doing well, and I really miss everybody, and like I said, I hope you're doing good. We'll see y'all later.